Hello everyone, and today I want to talk about the books that I want to read in February. I have some that are pretty strict on the TBR, like I will definitely read them because they're buddy reads, and then the rest are kind of like things I'm just kind of thinking about in a specific genre. So let's start off with my buddy reads. I'm not going to tell you who I'm buddy reading each of these with because a lot of them are my subscribers and I don't want to give usernames if they're not comfortable with that. And so these are ones that I have set up to read with people in February. I have one that we've already started, but we haven't really discussed yet if we are going to finish it this month, and that's Moon of the Crusted Snow by Wabishag Rice. And this one is a apocalyptic book that takes place on an Anishinaabe reservation. And I have started this. I'm I didn't put a bookmark in, but I have started this. I'm 2 chapters in and we haven't discussed it yet, so I don't know if we're going to finish this month because it is short, or if we're going to continue into the beginning of February. But if so, that'll be first thing in February. I have a short story collection, Exhalation by Ted Chiang, and this one I'm going to be reading throughout the month of February, because there are several short stories in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 short stories. So we are going to probably spread them out throughout the month, and these are all sci-fi, fantasy type of short stories. Then I have The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly, which is a middle grade horror kind of creepy novel that I think has stories within the story, which is great. So this Book of Lost Things is a book of stories that is affecting the real world in this. And this one I am buddy reading towards the beginning of the month. So this will happen the first half. And the same with The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. We have planned to read this in the first half of February. This is a horror novel that's taking place in kind of a puritanical society, and from what I could tell there are witches in it, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then I have Emma by Jane Austen, and we haven't set exactly when we're going to read this in the month, but this is one I am planning on reading in February. I'm really excited about this one because I think I'm really going to enjoy reading Emma. And then I have a couple that haven't been confirmed as buddy reads in February. I'm still working out details, so this may or may not happen in the month of February. I have Disability Visibility, edited by Alice Wong, and then I have Pet by Akwaeke Emezi, and this one is, I think it's kind of a little bit of fantasy, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this, so I hope we're going to buddy read this one in February. So yeah, those are all of the books that I'm going to buddy read, so those will happen, except for these might be possibilities. I haven't confirmed yet. One other book that is just kind of a random one that doesn't fit into any category, but I am going to read it because it's part of a challenge I do for one of my Patreons that I'm a part of. I have to read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, which is a memoir, and I am looking forward to reading that. I just bought this, so I'm excited that I'm going to be reading it right away. And then the rest of my plans are just to mood read romance books. So what I did was I pulled off all of the books that I own that are on kind of my 2023 challenge TBRs, whether those are series TBRs or my diversity challenge TBR, any of those challenges that had romance novels on them. I went ahead and pulled those, so these are ones that I might possibly read in February, but like I said, I'm going to kind of mood read in terms of these ones, so what I'm in the mood to pick up in February, or if I start something and I'm not feeling it completely, I'm giving myself permission to just read whatever romance books I am drawn to in the month of February, because I was in a really big romance mood in December, and I tried to do a project where I was reading specific ones, and I was having a miserable time because I was not liking them, but I was forcing myself to try to finish them, and I was giving it all 2 or 3 stars or DNFing, and so I was no, I need to take a break from romance. I took off January, and now I still want to read romance, but I want to make sure that I am giving myself full permission to put down a book that I am not feeling so that I can get back into reading romance and have this fear of the genre right now, because I had such a bad experience in December. So these are just possibilities. I have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, which I believe is a second chance romance. I have Our Way Back to Always by Nina Moreno, which is a young adult. I think this is a childhood friends to lovers / second chance because they had a falling out. And then I have Written in the Stars by Aisha Saeed, and then I think this is going to be much more serious than a regular romance, but from what I could tell from the Goodreads tag, there's still a romance in it, but has a lot of more serious family issues and things in it. And then I have a couple that were on my like series to start this year, which are historical fiction. I have both The Matchmaker's Lonely Heart by Nancy Campbell Allen and The Lady and the Highwayman by Sarah M. Eden. So if I'm in the mood for historical fiction, I can pick up one of those romances. And then another historical fiction, but this one has like sexy times where these two do not. So whatever I'm in the mood for, I have The Suffragette Scandal by Courtney Milan, which is the last in a series that I have to read. So those are ones that I own, but then I also got some from the library, and I do want to be reading more books in a month that I own, but all the rest of the ones I showed you are books I own. So these are the only ones that I picked up from the library, and I'm not going to read all of these. Like I said, I'm going to be mood reading. So I want to make sure that, you know, all of the buddy reads are ones I own. So as long as I don't read more library books than I do books I own, I'll be good. So these are ones I picked up. All of these were recommended from other people's favorites lists. Like a lot of the people that I watch, I was like really scanning their favorites of the year for books that were romance books that I might be interested in so that I could get myself out of this romance funk. So these are what I pulled from the library. We'll see which of these I read. So I have A Scoundrel of Her Own by Stacey Reed, and this one is like a sexy historical fiction type of thing. I don't know if it's part of a series, but usually you can read these by themselves even if they are part of a series. And then I have Summoning Up Love by Cynthia Williams, and this is, I believe, is the first in a series, but this is contemporary with a little bit of paranormal involved as well. Not like fully paranormal, but just a little bit of supernatural stuff sprinkled into the contemporary story. I have another historical fiction, but this one is a sapphic romance, The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. And this was actually recommended to me by like an in real life friend who was like, you need to read this book. I actually bought this for her for Christmas 2 Christmases ago. She read it and was like, have you read this? Because I bought it for her, and I was like, no, I haven't. She's like, you need to read it. So I'll probably get to that one in February. And then I have Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. And I heard really great things about this author. She was originally publishing things independently publishing them, but then got picked up by a traditional publisher. And so I wanted to give her a try and see if I want to read all of her like backlist. If I like this one, this is the new one that just got published last year. Then I have Who's That Earl by Susanna Craig. And this one is a historical romance, but I think it also involves like spies. And it's really short, so I just thought that was interesting. I've heard good things about this from Beautifully Bookish Bethany of this series, and so I wanted to pick it up and try it because it just sounds kind of like an interesting concept to put the like spy aspect into the novel. Then I have Just Like This by Cole McCade, and this is a male-male contemporary romance. And then I have Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and I really love the middle grade books that I have read from this author, and so I wanted to try out her adult romance, and I've heard really great things about this one. It's also a sapphic contemporary romance. And then I have one that's like a fantasy romance, but I've heard that it's much more romance than it is fantasy, and that's A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland. And the last one is A Caribbean Heiress in Paris by Adriana Herrera, and I have just heard really great things about this one. It's another historical romance, and I've just heard a lot of people praising this one, and I actually read the first chapter as part of a project that I had abandoned, and this was my favorite first chapter from that project, so I definitely wanted to bring it in and read it. Oh, and I have one more that I have not gotten from the library again. I have it on reserve, and that's A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. And I had read part of this. I'd started it in December, right at that time when I was like hating romance, and I was liking this one, but because I just had a bad taste in my mouth for romance, I put it down. So I would like to pick this one back up in February. So I'm already like a third of the way through the book, I think, or a fourth of the way. So not like terribly far into it, but I have already started this and I want to get back into it now that I am approaching romance from a better state of mind. So those are the books that I will definitely be reading, my buddy reads, and then the ones I will potentially be reading a lot of books from the romance genre in February. So those are my goals. Let me know if you are focusing on anything in February. Are you reading romance because it's Valentine's Day month? I'm doing it. Yes, it is Valentine's Day month, but I'm also just like really wanting to read some romance. I think it's because it's like cold and dark out and I just want something to cheer me up. So that's another reason, not just because of Valentine's Day, but because I just really need some nice, cozy, fun, sweet things to read right now. And that's it for me. I will see you next time. Bye.